I want to talk about our resilience footprints today. How we take the time to think about our response to difficult situations. Because believe it or not, crisis does not discriminate. One way or the other, we are going to be impacted by something horrible, something tragic, something uninvited. If you're not already sitting in it, it's going to come. It's going to come directly to you, or it's going to come on a secondary level when someone you love is breaking and you just don't know how to handle that. A lot of us have this flight, flee, or freeze attitude to crisis because we haven't stopped to build on ourselves until the point of that crisis. We don't know for a fact how we react to grief, how we react to heartbreak, to trauma, to war, to discrimination, to crime, until something really pushes us into those hot waters and we either sink or we swim. And here I am today trying to help you build that swim muscle, trying to send you to that swimming school so that you can practice and know in advance that if I'm thrown into a pool, I will be okay. I may not be an expert. I may not be able to anticipate. I may not know the exact level of how I'm going to feel in that situation, but I definitely have that fight spirit. I have those fighting strategies, and it doesn't just come upon you in that instant. Yes, we say that when you're in hot waters, the strength will come out of you, but the strategies and the mindset to fight has to be cultivated before you get to that level. Now, what does fight mean? Fight means owning that feeling, that heart wrenching feeling, accepting that this thing is breaking me in this way, accepting that impact, connecting with it, stopping and responding and asking yourself how, why, when, and then only then can you start to see your way out of it. Having that difficult conversation around that thing, telling that person that their actions hurt you in this way, trying to overcome those things that are inevitable. Fleeing means being in denial, minimizing that thing, being condescending and condoning, and pulling that pity blanket over yourself or that of the loved one who is struggling with that issue. Not being able to face it, to accept it for what it is, that you're struggling with that addiction, that you're sitting in that difficult issue that you don't have a clue what to do with it. And finally, the freeze is when you're triggered and you don't even know what that trigger means. When you're overwhelmed, when you're emotionally unavailable, when you don't know how to have that conversation, when everything just puts you into a bottomless hole where you do not know how to crawl out of. And resilience is that thing that helps you stop, helps you breathe, helps you tell yourself that this has gone too much. In overcoming that thing that has already happened to you, or in managing this one that is crashing on you in the instant. My name is Aso, and I welcome you warmly to my little corner, Clear Minds and Self Healing. I appreciate everyone who takes the time to text and comment and call me up personally and give me positive or even negative feedback. I encourage those who are watching for the first time to please subscribe and join us here. I share weekly content around everyday experiences that we can use to have an open discussion that is going to elevate us from a point of unconsciousness to a conscious awareness of those things so that we can do something about it. A healthy heart is not one that is void of problem. A healthy heart is one that is flexible, that bends to change, that bends to push, that bends to challenge, to problem, that yields and seeks and swerves and comes out on the other side. If you're stiff, if you have that mindset that it's happened again, why does it keep happening? I expected to get to this place in this way. I had it all lined up. If you have an unbending and unyielding heart, it breaks when pushed. But if you put these building blocks on yourself and you learn to go with the flow and you learn to take it in and you learn to heal, you will overcome more likely than those who are stuck and unyielding and unbending in their attitude and their approach towards grief and trauma and everything else that hurts us. Today, I will give you two different ways that you can use to really build on your resilience. The first one is based on your attitude towards life, and the other one is based on the action and the things that you do that can build on your resilience. Starting with the action, resilience is a response. It's how you respond to difficult situations. When you hear that tragedy, when you're given that diagnosis, when someone tells you something rude and degrading, whatever the situation is that you're dealing with, it's your ability to connect, to acknowledge the reality of that situation and its impact on you. Most often we fall apart in grief, not because of the big topic of grief, but because of the significance of that person to you. I can't live without him or her actually means breaking it down to they are the ones who paid all the bills. They are the ones who knew where to go in the holidays. They are the ones who took the front line, who brought me coffee. Oh, they are the ones that are cared for. What am I going to do if I'm not playing that role that represented me in that identity that I had with that person? So the breakdown of your heart and your mood and emotion is the difference, the shift in action and identity and emotion that is going to have to happen with that new identity and new situation that you're presented with. So being able to stop and reflect and connect and acknowledge exactly what that difficult situation means to you means that you're breaking it down into actionable, difficult pieces. Yes, I'm overwhelmed about the bills. Then you can start to reflect on how to overcome that difficulty. I'm overwhelmed about the loneliness. Then you can start to overcome that. And when you break it down, you will also find the strength of how you're going to survive that situation in those things that were your strong point. You find the strength in those things that was their weak points and start to see that actually I was okay. Actually, I already did a lot of these things on my own. And that's where the second part of healing comes in. And it's a psychological process called benefit finding. It's positive psychology. It helps you stack the pros and cons of a bad situation and therefore show you the light at the end of the tunnel. See it as a possible 50-50 or something that you can overcome. For instance, our amazing Queen Elizabeth passed, but as much as we mourned and we were broken, we saw the life that she has led. We saw the hearts that she has touched. We saw the age that she left, and we saw this as a sad but celebratory occasion that we celebrated her, that we honored her, and we were happy that she didn't live to be sick and suffering and go to those stages where we would wouldn't have wanted her to face. So you stack the benefits and you push yourself to an overcoming position around that issue. You're happy that a loved one who has been sick for too long has passed. You miss them, you love them, but that suffering will be avoided now. In the lockdown, we saw the benefits of home working. We saw the explosion of the internet market. And as much as we hated the lockdown and the COVID and everything that it embodied, we are able to make ourselves feel better by seeing the positives that came out of it, how we became more health conscious, how we celebrated life more. And when you start to use that positive binding effect to pull yourself as opposed to sink in a crisis, you will be able to build on your resilience. I cannot emphasize enough the significance of taking the time to really think about your response to difficult things, because the difference of healing or sinking is based on your response. Like I said, inevitably we are going to face these things. And the way we deal with them is going to determine our health or how much we let them hurt and break us. And I hope you take something from here in terms of attitude and psychology and mindset of how you deal with these things. They are going to happen unless you see life as a perfect image. If you lower that lens, accept that something bad is going to happen one way or the other, one stage or the other, your response to it will be more likely to be accepting and therefore overcoming, as opposed to why me? Why does this keep happening? What am I going to do with this now? This is the third time. That exhausts and overwhelms you even more in some cases than the crisis itself. Please share this and motivate, empower, and help someone else heal by changing their crisis mindset and building on their resilience.